Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Dave Stone. I'm the Director of Product Marketing, as I was just introduced there. I come from EDB, and so the question I get a lot is, what are we doing in Postgres, and what are we going to do going forward? And as you can see, we're already considered the #1 contributor to Postgres. And so when you look at, with 17, PG-17 release, 31% of that project was from our engineering team. And you can see 80% of enterprises appreciate the augmentation that's coming from that, whether it's our thought leadership around analytics and AI, or maybe it's the TDE that protects a lot of the data that's out there. And so what do we do for customers? Well, globally, we have a customer base from finance, technology, telco, healthcare, media and entertainment. And what we solve for them is, whether it's with healthcare, and 1 in 6 people around the world rely on our imaging coming from Postgres, or the 400 million people in India that rely on us to cover the payments, as well as the 173 million people that rely on us for their banking systems in Uruguay and Spain. And what customers have told us after meeting with them is they need to be ready for this sovereign AI future. And so they've asked us, based on our experience, how we can help them become more of a hybrid by design. And so this last year, we've been focused on making sovereign data and AI available to all of them. And what that means is providing a single platform that helps with mission-critical applications, working from across the globe and backed by our unparalleled Postgres experience. And so the challenges you face when implementing Gen AI, as you can imagine, it always happens. We want more control, greater flexibility, security and compliance. Oh, and by the way, we need a good deal on it, right? And when we talk about full control, we're talking about taking the models to, or your data to the models, and being able to then bring the models to your data. You need a little more flexibility around that. And you need to be able to choose where you're deploying that, right? Because you've already paid for GPUs. You may already have models that run on CPUs. There are multiple ways to deploy this, but you have to be ready and you have to stay flexible. And then there's security, exposing that data that, you as a company, you're your own country with that data. And so you need sovereign governance around that. And when you've got that data already, it's expensive when you have to go back to the cloud to access that, as well as you need better performance when you're running these systems in the cloud. So what is sovereign to us? We feel that you should be able to deploy this in a single set of software. So you should be able to deploy it with a database, AI, analytics, and deploy that where you would like, whether that's in a hybrid environment, whether that's on the cloud, as well as the sovereign data and AI factory, which we've just recently released, which allows you to leverage the state-of-the-art technology from NVIDIA and Supermicro, and get our AI factory, which comes with all these great features that I'm going to talk about in a second, but also have what we're known for, giving you that high availability with the 5 nines, and to be able to bring AI to your data center and a single offering. And then manage a platform that you can leverage our world-renowned support, whether it's 24/7 support and delivering mission-critical applications. So key features that you should look for when you're pulling together a sovereign AI solution is really about, instead of exposing your sensitive data to the cloud models, can you bring the models to your data into a single offering to be able to build with the wide range of models? Because the models are only going to continue to come, and if you already have a team of data scientists, data engineers, or data analysts, you probably already are building your own models, and so you have to be able to put your models to work that you've already built, and then be able to leverage a cutting-edge PG vector database to be able to get that similarity search, which leads you to be able to build inferencing immediately with your data. And you get this comprehensive auditing and observability with your applications. And then that's the deployment options. Where are you going to deploy this once you have it out there? Do you want to do it in the cloud? Maybe it costs some applications should be run on the cloud because it doesn't have proprietary data. But then there are the ones that are secretive and sensitive that you have to be able to protect. And then you have access control and encryption. And I think about, this is not a lot is different from how encrypting, your web applications. I mean, we already are familiar with how they use these tools. So how do we leverage that in an environment that we're familiar with? And then bring in your models to be hosted locally. So EDB Postgres AI released June 17th, a new platform which was able to give you 5 features. The ability to have a single data platform for all your different types of data. So, you're already working with JSON, you're already working with time series, you're already working with geospatial. So you should be able to have that in a single place on a single data platform so you can build without any boundaries. Then we have the AI factory, which allows you to do no-code, low-code deployment of Gen AI applications. So we're talking about inferencing, we're talking about agents, we're talking about the ability to essentially point and click, as you're going to see in a demo in a little bit, to be able to get up and running quickly and make everybody an AI developer at your company. And so that leads us into getting data and getting access, because with analytics on everybody's mind, how to do faster, how to get more out of your business, we released our Analytics Accelerator. And the Analytics Accelerator is really great because it's based on what we heard feedback from our customers was, hey, you're really great with Postgres and open source. What else can you help us with? Can you help us with, we have this green plum thing, and we need help to be able to manage that effectively. So we released Warehouse PG as part of the Analytics Accelerator, which allows you to support most of your large workloads. And that's, it's pretty incredible because we have about 100 years of developer experience between our team. We've hired a bunch of really great green plum people to come over and work on the team. And we've created a really nice, we don't like to think of it as a migration, it's kind of a binary swap. And so it's easy to take your existing workloads on green plum and move them over to our Warehouse PG. And then customers said to us, hey, we have a problem with our analytics on transactional right now. It doesn't split the compute between storage and query. Can you help us with that? And we said yes. So we released our column query engine, which allows you to turn your Postgres into a column or storage so you can actually run the analytics in a much more cost-effective way. So you get a 30x on the query compared to a standard Postgres query. Now the benefit to that is when you get into the AI generation, you got to be able to access data fairly quickly, and because your customers are relying on this. And so you got to be able to retrieve that so you can have a great customer experience. And so that's when you're talking about agents going and doing autonomous work and taking action, they have to be able to retrieve that data. And then we have our hybrid manager, which allows you to, if you're deploying in a sovereign environment, you need to be able to see how those workloads are performing. And you've got a problem because some of them are in on-prem, and then some of them are in the cloud. So how do you manage and monitor that? And that's where we released the Hybrid Manager. And then be able to deliver a controlled environment for a complete sovereignty. So you can flexibly deploy on a hybrid sovereign data environment that is just one package to really support all of this. And what our customers say across the board, whether it's DBS, these are our early customers, MasterCard, Zucchetti, and Blue Cross Blue Shield, is that they need additional support for this environment because there's so much data and it starts to add up when you do it at scale. And so why do Gen AI applications fail? And really, it comes down to 3 reasons that we hear from customers. It's cost and scalability, and then fragmented systems, AI development skills and gaps, which we just heard about, and then data governance and concerns. And I think one of the first customers that we met with had gone to become, they wanted to be an AI-first company, and so what they did is they went and bought a bunch of stuff off the shelf. They bought, LangChain and 40 different services from AWS to go and build this application. And it was just a chatbot, like the hello world of doing Gen AI. And the problem is they put it into production and it worked really well. Like it worked really well. But it was $2 per 4 prompts with that chatbot, which if you have 100 contact center employees leveraging that, and they're not prompting right, they're not trained right, they're just still not getting the answers, it starts to add up. And so what they've had to do is just scrap that project that they spent millions of dollars on, and now waiting for something else to come along that maybe they can put it into production later. And then you have the development skills, which was referenced earlier, and I think we're all facing that. Like, when AWS says, yeah, we can help you build this, and nothing against AWS, they're a really great partner of ours, but they say, yeah, we can help you build this, but it's going to be 40 or more services. You need at least a handful of experts on each one of those services, and not to mention Postgres, but then like real-time analytics or SNS, and then being able to do Kafka, and so like these open source projects start to overwhelm the team that want to build it. And so it's something that shouldn't take long when you're using OpenAI and just sending data and consuming it. It actually turns into a project that can last 6 to 12 months, but it's just MVP. You can't actually roll it out because you're overrun by your budget that you only gave $1 million for. And I think about this chatbot customer that we worked with. It's amazing. A lot of these are chatbots because they're business applications, and everybody says that should be so simple. But it's hard to get that natural language processing right consistently to be reliable. And so this particular customer built the chatbot, and it was for an internal system. It was like for their internal documentation. And really, no customers were going to experience this. But they still couldn't get it across the line where they felt like they were, if they fed it a couple hundred docs, they were able to get, a consistent response back. And so, what you're going to hear about in a little bit is the AI Factory, which enables you to take an existing project that got, shelves and then be able to bring it into production. So we were able to help this customer to get this going in about a couple weeks. Anyways. So then there's the data governance and concern. And so when you're talking about your data, your strategic data you've been working on and storing, everybody says you need to have this, and now you're going to just send that up to the cloud, and that's just not something that or models to train other models. And yes, I know there's some governance there, but it's risky when you have employees at your company that they're just going to do what they want, and so you got to be able to have governance around that. And so what is the AI Factory I've been talking about? And that is what we've built is the ability to accelerate time to market. And so we've removed the 50 to 80% of the integration work that is required. And so you're going to see in a demo in a little bit how you can do a low-code build out of a chatbot, or whatever you would like. And so we've made it so that way everybody at the organization can become AI developers with our no-code, low-code. And so it's not that these would go into production, but you think about the backlog of the teams that have ideas. So you have HR, you have legal, you have marketing, you have sales. They're all wanting to do something in AI. But with the limited number of resources, how do you do that? How do you implement that? And so this gives them, when the environment's set up, the ability to do a POC and then go back to the team and say, this is how we built it, we want to implement it. And it's just straightforward for them to implement to be enterprise grade. And so then with our agent system, our agent studio, is you're able to now gain new insights from end-of-life software. And the way I like to think about this is there's a lot of applications that have been built, and either the UI on it is kind of clunky and nobody wants to use, or there's just nobody around to continue to manage and update that. And so what do you do with that piece of software? You just stick it on the shelf, you end-of-life it? Well, now with agents, it's incredible how much more life you can get out of that piece of software. Anyways, so what is the AI Factory? We have 5 features. We have the Gen AI Builder, which enables everyone to become a developer of Gen AI inferencing with our point-and-click interface, and you'll see it in a bit, as well as we did a study with a couple analysts called McKnight and Everest, and they compared us to AWS if you're going to build it yourself. And the comparison was we were 3x faster than building it yourself. And we'll get into how that works in a second. Our Agentic Studio is pretty clever. I like that you can immediately, without understanding how this should all be built out together, you can go in and give it access to URLs to have it go out and retrieve information from. You can put documents together and have it destination for it to go out and retrieve that, and then it'll pull it in automatically with our AI pipelines and embed it and make sure that if you do prompt and it's in the similarity search, if it's not there, it will go out and pull the other data from the other locations and then automatically vectorize it for you. We also have model serving, which eliminates the vendor lock-in, so that way you can do multimodal. You could swap out models. You're not kind of limited to what the large language model vendor is dictating to you to choose from. Okay, so how's this looking in architecture? And how you should think about it is we have the orchestration layer, which is really managing all the data from the AI pipelines, which is going to do the automatic embedding for you with just 5 lines of code, which traditionally, if you're building an AI pipeline, might be 135 lines of code or more. And it's your familiar SQL. You're getting the vector engine, which is built on Postgres. It's PG vector. We've also got the model surveying. So once you have the infrastructure set up, then it's time to build. It's the fun part. Like, with our Gen AI Builder, you can build that Gen AI inferencing app, chatbot, virtual assistant, a RAG application. And then you have Agentic Studio, and that's just what it is. It allows you to build agents, whether we have some templates that you can leverage that are open source. We also have over 30 tools that your agents can use to build different or take action for you, as well as we have a custom setting where you can build custom actions for your agents. But we built this before MCP was coming out, and so this was our attempt to create MCP. It's funny, we came up with this idea, but then someone came up with a a better idea of making a single interface. But the ability for agents to have these 30 tools when, there's, I don't know, there's a bit of security around MCP, and so you may not want to use MCP. You may want to just build your own or leverage ours, and so we give you that flexibility, because really at the end of the day, if you're going to do sovereign, you're going to need to stay flexible. You need to have choices. And so then that gets me to deployment, where you're, where do you want to deploy? Do you want to deploy in the cloud? Okay, which cloud? We got some workloads in GCP, we got some in AWS, some in Alibaba, some in Oracle. So you need to be able to access those. You need to be able to then also say, well, we got a better deal on these GPUs, so we need to be able to use those too. And then if there was a situation where you're like, you know what, I just feel like we're not the expert in this, but we want to have a sovereign AI and data environment that's open, what's my option? And it's our sovereign data and AI factory, which is built on NVIDIA and Supermicro, and you get our AI, our PGAI offering. Okay, so the business impact is everybody becomes a Gen AI developer, right? And you're able to do it much faster. Instead of 5 lines of code, 135 lines of code for building up that AI pipelines. You're going to be able to build it 3x faster than doing it yourself on AWS. And so, like I was saying earlier, we reached out to some consultants that could do some benchmarking for us, and these are the benchmarks that they shared. The interesting thing is, when we say 3x, like if you're building just a chatbot and it takes you, 7 months or longer, like I don't know if that's really a differentiator for your business if it took you that long to do it. And so you have to be able to do it in weeks, and also be able to do it so that way you reduce the maintenance and the complexity costs. So when we say 3x faster, we're talking about less people to do the job, right? Less technical resources. If you don't have to rely on, various experts that understand Kafka to be able to pull in streams, or experts around Postgres, or fill in the blank of the 40 services that is required to build this, and then be able to manage that with the lower development and complexity at 67%. And then the maintenance, because you still have to keep this thing up and running, and so that's 38% faster. So total cost of ownership, according to McKnight, is if you build it yourself, it's going to be pretty close to $9 million. However, total cost of ownership if you build it with us is going to be 4.3. And those metrics on the side there that you see are where we stand in comparison to DIY or AWS in that sense. So, okay, so let's do a demo real quick. Oh, dang it, that was it. Just kidding. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to show a demo real quick that is 2 demos in one. One is a Slackbot integration, and then another with the Zendesk. So everything starts with data preparation. So inside of our estate, you can see we need to bring in a new document. So this is coming from S3. It's a document just on credit card scores and people who may had some ratings around their credit cards or feedback and things like that. So we put this into a doc, and then we load it up into PG admin. So that way, and if you see right there, it's embedding this, and so it's going to make it so that way when we create a knowledge base later, which is what we call where you store all your data. So, and when you create a knowledge base, you will be able to access this data. And so you'll launch this through our hybrid manager, and you click on Gen AI Builder, and you go over here, and you're going to build the knowledge base first. So you can see that those attachments were added right there. Now we're going to create assistant. And so to create an assistant, you have to first attach it to your you got to put some rules in it. And so this one is saying with Zendesk, we need to have credentials and we need to have these type of requirements. So you got these policies that you can put in on the fly. This was a template that we just put in there, but you can custom build that or use what we have in the system as well, just for starting out. Then you're going to be able to check this to see if it's running. And so you see status, it's ready. Now we're going to create an assistant. So you got to give an assistant a name. And this one, just support agent. And the description, we're giving it the knowledge base on what we want it to pull from. And then this one is just structures will be the credit scores. And so we're going to test it right here in the environment to see if everything's working. And so we use some poor grammar here to see if it actually catches it. How to eligible, and how to eligible for Acme reward cards. And it will come back with the correct grammar to be eligible. And then it provided that. And so now we go into settings and we're choosing the models that we want to use. And this is, we use the NVIDIA NIM catalog, and soon I'll talk about in a second on our roadmap. You'll be able to bring any model that you would like to this platform. But right now we just leverage the biggest ones and everybody's favorites. And then, so now this is the Slack integration. So there's a little bit of work here, about a couple minutes to integrate with Slack, where you have to go through their console and make sure it gets set up. But once this gets set up, it's going to pull directly from the knowledge base, and it's going to, let me see if I can stop this. It's pulling information really quickly, and you're not going to see it all, but like Fiona Green, she likes this credit card because of the flexibility. So now with Zendesk, we're going to, the other piece of this that we set up, we're going to ask it if it can get a support ticket open. And in the process of asking it to open a support ticket, it's going to say, well, we need these credentials to see if you can actually qualify. Those are the rules that we put in at the beginning of the demo, if you saw that. So it's asking, give us the name, give us the subject. And so copy paste, we're putting this into this, and it's going to come back and say, hopefully approval. There it is, yeah. So yes, you can open a Zendesk ticket. So that the simplicity on that is you can build something. You don't have to have a UI for building a chatbot. You could use your existing applications like Slack or whatever. So this is showing the observability where you can, and this is fully customizable, but it's like, you know, how well is the agent performing? Is it taking a ton of GPUs to be able to handle these 5 queries? Do we need to change how the prompts are? Can we add more keywords to, you know, for the similarity search with the vector database? You know, the whole 9. You can. It's really there to help you troubleshoot. And so next slide. So I want to get into what's coming on our roadmap, and here it is. So we kind of look at the roadmap as a couple ways of viewing. We have the data management and the orchestration, and then we also have to be able to take actions like with agents and Gen AI inferencing applications. So a couple roadmap items I think are important. I talked about MCP protocol already, but it will be available in Q4, and so you'll be able to, if you're familiar with using MCP and you feel it's safe and secure on how you deploy it, then you guys will be able to use that. Or you could just use our existing tool base. It's, you know, the 30 tools are pretty neat and simple to get started with. And then project awareness. And so enterprise customers have to be able to limit, when everybody becomes AI developers, you have to limit, you know, the data they have access to, which models, maybe, you know, like each team at your company is going to have a different constraint around budgets and compute resources. And so to be able to limit and restrict based on their individual users' credentials. All right, I think I like the air gap deployment, and what I like about that is you're just going to get way more tools and security features to really be able to do this offline way better than what we have right now. And because certain security tools are required, and so you'll be able to have access to that. There is build your own models, which I was talking about, because you have, if you have a data science team, and data engineers, they've been building their own models, and so we got to be able to make it so you can bring those to the platform and stay sovereign, right? As well as some more guardrails around the large language models to prevent rogue activities, to monitor, what the agents are doing in a better way, and be able to shut it down when it's not doing something that would be good, or it's inappropriate in some aspects. I think that's it.